You're listening to The A to Z of Spirituality by Divine Soul Yolandi Boshoff. I work with light workers and starseeds who are ready to transform their lives and shine. I will be covering loads of topics relating to spiritual growth, and I will teach you what I have learned on my own journey so far. A journey of connecting with my sacred Mary Magdalene sisterhood, my cosmic lineage, my earth ancestors, sacred sites around the world, and my own divine soul. So, if you are ready for some profound ideas and deep spiritual connection, make sure you join me today. Grab a cuppa and let's shine. So happy 2021, beautiful divine soul. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. And I'm excited to be working from my brand new office space and recording from here today. So it's so beautiful. So on the podcast today, what we're going to be looking at is F, and F is for fear. So this is quite an interesting one. And when I started just making some notes and thinking about what I wanted to share today when it comes to fear and the concept of fear, I started tuning into this whole idea around fear. And I think fear is something that all of us have. As I always say to my clients, I don't know any person who is not scared of doing things or showing up or living life in a certain fashion. There's always fear somewhere. So if anyone tells you they are completely fearless, I call the big bullshit on that one. So I believe everyone has got some fear. It obviously the varying degrees, and it's more intense for some people, etc. But what I did was I started jotting down in my notes, and I love to create mind maps around things. And I was sitting and I was writing down all the fears that I personally have dealt with or faced or like connected with. And I know there's obviously hundreds and thousands of different fears, but these were just ones that I took myself, and I wanted to understand like what was the pattern here, or where did all of this come from. So I started by looking at my biggest fears, and my biggest fears were around judgment. And then when I started breaking judgment down, there was the judgment of myself, and then there was also the judgment from other people. So fearing, what other people would say and how would they be doing things. And then there was the judgment of myself, my own abilities to be in my worth and my self-expression and all those type of things. And then the fear of trust. Okay, so for me, there's that fear around like trusting other people or trusting myself. There's a fear of safety, the rejection, abandonment, failure, all of those things. So these were all big fears that has shown up in my life to date. And these are all things that I've struggled with and that I've had to either heal or look at. And, as much as I've spent time really going into them and understanding them, I think it's an ongoing self-exploration. And I don't want to use the word it's an ongoing battle, because it's not a battle. It's more about an ongoing acceptance of the fact that these things are very real for all of us, and it's just they show up in waves and in different degrees, right? So the one thing that became very evident for me when I started analyzing these things and looking at every single fear that I could imagine for myself was that they were all linked to me. They were all linked to my reality. They were all linked to what was going on inside of me. And they not, like fear of a spider is something that's external to me, right? So I'm scared of the spider and it is outside of me. But all of these things that I came up with first when I was analyzing fear was all stuff that was in my control, and basically things that I have created because of my belief systems or my reality around how I feel about myself, how I feel about the people that's in my life, etc. So I was just like, well, that's quite interesting because then it's all fears that's basically within my control. So they are all fears that I have the ability to work with and fix and really understand, where like my fear of spiders might be because I was bitten by a spider, or my fear of snakes. Like I had one because I stepped on a snake when I was a little girl. So there's all these, those are all external factors, like I said. So I thought it was really interesting, because then I started breaking them down, and I started taking the fear of judgment. Okay, so the fear of being judged by other people. So I could link that immediately back to how I was brought up. And in my culture, it's very much about like, what will the people say? How do we as a family present? How do we as people present? And what are other people saying behind our backs? And how do they look at what we're wearing and how we're living and how our kids are behaving and all that good stuff? And I mean, when you break that down, when you get into the space where I am now, where you basically don't give a shit about what anyone thinks about you, but this is because of years of work about like not worrying about what other people say, and really going through that process of understanding myself and realizing that I don't need anyone's approval, or I don't need anyone's acceptance, but that took work. So then I got into the space of that judgment that we feel within ourselves, right? So for me, when I looked at that, I was looking at like my ability to express myself, to share my truth with the world. And when I was thinking about that one, I was thinking about like how hard it was for me when I started my spiritual journey to put my truth out there. Because again, I was worried about what were the people going to say? Who was I going to offend? How much was my aunt or my uncle going to be upset with me uttering things that was against the religious beliefs, all that good stuff? And again, I could bring that back to the fact that these are all things that I can change. I can change how I feel about that. My ability to express myself and really put my voice out there was very much linked to me trusting what I believed and spending time actually figuring out how I feel about things and how strongly I feel about things and how motivated I am to share my beliefs with the world and to share what I think and how I feel with the world. And again, allowing myself to share that. And then I got to like self-worth through that, because very often, and I know so many of you out there also suffer from this, is that whole imposter syndrome, right? It's like, what have I got to say? How is what I'm bringing out to the world, how does that matter? Everyone's saying the same thing. But through, again, taking time and understanding this about myself and the uniqueness of every single one of us, and how you and I are not the same. And even if we say the exact same sentence and we have the exact same beliefs, how our energy is different and how we are heard by different people. So people are attracted to my energy, people are attracted to your energy. So the thing is, there's relevance in what you feel and there's relevance in what you believe. So why are you not allowed to share that? And again, after taking time to understand that about myself, and really understand that, there is worth in my existence, and there's worth in my being, and there's worth in everything that I feel I want to share with the world. And even if there's only an impact on one person out there, that makes it all worthwhile. So again, like no fear around that is really required. So for me, it's like really just taking a systematic approach to our fears and starting to understand, like, where does it all come from and why am I feeling so strongly about it? Because fear is just something that we create to keep ourselves safe, right? We want to just be in that space where I don't want to get hurt, I don't want to get judged, whatever. So it's literally like, if we look at the nuts and bolts of it, yes, it is very real and it shows up in our body in very real ways. But when we understand what we are doing and we can almost step out of that emotional overwhelm of it, it is really quite simple, in my opinion. And even when I look back at the fears that I had 2-3 years ago and how hectic and intense they were for me, just by understanding them, analyzing them, and growing through it, am I able to now look at them and go, oh, well, actually, that doesn't bother me anymore. This is way better. But there's always going to be new fears. Okay, so it's a bit like climbing a ladder. And I feel like every single rung, there's another fear that's going to show up. Your ego needs to be, like sort of soothed and looked after, and it wants some attention. So that's what the fears are. It's the ego stepping forward and going, this is outside of my natural comfort zone. You are messing with my couch time here and me just sitting and being all comfy. Therefore, let me be scared. Let me just be worrying about stuff that is sometimes really quite pointless and needless, but I will make it into some dramatic event in your head and create something hectic for you, because there might have been some incident in your life where it didn't feel good and there was pain associated with it or fear associated with it. So I think it's just about really diffusing the emotions behind these things and also realistically looking at it. And I think what is the super overused term? Is it false evidence appearing real? So when we really start looking at it, a lot of the stuff is a lot of bullshit that our egos are literally creating for us and making up there. So then I thought about like fear of abandonment fears and fear of rejection and those type of things. And I mean, for me, these are very real issues that if you have suffered abandonment or rejection in your life at some point, there was a certain amount of pain associated with it. And I think, a lot of the stuff that's happened to us in our younger years when we were children, etc., they have a really big impact on our lives. And we hold on to those emotions, and it's almost like our brain is able to amplify the pain that we feel. So imagine that you were in a space where your parents got divorced and your dad left, for instance, and the pain that you felt and the rejection and the abandonment that you felt at that point in time was extremely real. It was happening. It left deep emotional scars and a lot of pain. So we then keep those things within us. And when we then as adults have to step into the space of creating new relationships or trying to be in a space where we trust people that become closer to us and like move into our field for relationships and friendships and all those type of things, subconsciously that worry about them walking out again is very real. And obviously these things do happen where people do leave us, but then there's also times when people do stay. And it's almost, if you look at the nuts and bolts of it, we tend to step into spaces in our lives where we then avoid getting close to people. We then make sure that as long as I don't commit, or as long as I don't actually open my heart up and allow people in, I can't actually experience that pain again. But you are also doing yourself a disservice in the process, because you're not allowing yourself to experience something that might work out wonderfully and might be super beneficial for you. So the thing is just about understanding that, keeping that cover around your heart, keeping that fence that you've put up, keeping people at arm's length, how is that really going to serve you to live your life here on earth? How's that really going to help you to embrace every moment and be present in every moment when constantly you're worried about someone hurting you or leaving you or something going wrong? And I do understand that these are very real fears, but I also do understand that when we look at it properly and we allow ourselves to jump in off that cliff into the unknown, especially when it comes to relationships and opening our hearts up to other people, there is so much magic to be found there. And I think if you can consciously start understanding why you are doing things and start forgiving yourself and the people that were involved in the initial hurt and pain, you can really start changing the way that you look at the world and the way that you show up in the world. Because through those moments when we're keeping our hearts closed, we are missing out on the magic. We are missing out on very amazing experiences because we choose to be safe. We choose to not engage in pain. And I also believe that our souls want to experience pain. Our souls want to experience suffering and grief and loss and all of these things, because these are all the emotions that you come to earth for. Your soul comes here to feel all of these things. And so often when we are in that moment and feeling the pain, it is a lot less severe than our ego made us believe. Okay, so your ego will create the biggest drama ever around a moment of pain. But when you actually allow yourself to just feel that pain, it is literally a fleeting experience. And then you can let go. And that is really when you're brave enough to feel, when you're brave enough to allow yourself to go there, it's a lot easier than we ever think. So I've become a bit of an emotional junkie over the last year. And I just love the fact that one of my really good friends here, when I met her the first time, I was all into detaching and everything. And she looked at me and she's just like, but aren't you supposed to feel emotions? And it was like someone gave me a slap with a cold fish through my life. It was just like, oh my God, what do you mean? And she was just like, well, you need to feel this stuff. You need to actually not be in your little, oh my God, I can just detach. And then I thought, ooh, let me try this. And I started feeling, and it was like, well, this is quite cool. I'm just going to sit in my cry and like feel the pain. And it was so beautiful and so magical, as well as scary, obviously. But it was the moment I just allowed myself to feel it. It was just so much easier than I had thought it would be. I had this real fear of like connecting with my emotions because I thought it was going to floor me and I would never be able to get up. But guess what? It didn't. It was just fleeting moments of feeling, and then boom, I could move on. And I could just look at it and see it for what it was. And I think that's where the word that's popping into my head is that emotional intelligence. That emotional intelligence to know that these things are not permanent, that they cannot wipe us out and leave us on the floor if we allow ourselves to fully feel. So the whole concept of courage and of bravery is the big thing for me with fear. And I think it was Elizabeth Gilbert in one of her books, and I can't remember now. I think it might have been Big Magic. I can't remember exactly, but she wrote about inviting fear in and to sit next to you on the seat and like making a space for it and acknowledging it and seeing it and going, okay, cool, come with for the ride. And I think that's the thing. It's just like, for me, fear is always going to be there. Fear is going to show up, because if I didn't have fear, I would not have an ego. I would not be human if I didn't have fear. That's how I feel about it, right? I wouldn't be real. I wouldn't be a human. I wouldn't be honest with myself if I could just go through life completely fearless. So if I invite in the fear and I acknowledge the fear and I love the fear and I say, cool, you're here, but I'm still going to be brave and I'm still going to go and do this thing that I'm really scared of. So for me, it's always been like speaking or sharing my voice. Like I've had huge issues around that. And the thing is, I still do it. Like, even though I'm literally like freaking out before I have to do a podcast, or before I have to do a live, or before I have to stand before an audience, whatever. But like, I just do it anyway. I stand there and I just feel that full range of like freaking out. And then I'm like, whoosh, it's done. It's done now. And then I can just go on and I can just talk. Okay, so the thing is, the more we practice, because I've been practicing this for 5 years, showing up for my fear of speaking. But I also believe that the closer I get to my soul and the closer I get to understanding what I'm all about and who I am and being fully in my truth, the less scared I am of sharing my voice. Okay, so I mean, this is my example, because the more I am me, fully me, without judgment, without caring what anyone thinks, expressing myself is just so much easier. Okay, it gets less and less and less scary every single time. I know there's going to be some other fears that's going to be showing up at some stage, because that will just keep reminding me that I am human and that I am alive. But I think, that connection with our souls, getting to know ourselves better, really understanding who we are and what we're all about, also lessens fear. And if I understand my issues with abandonment or rejection, or failure or anything like that, I can start to just see it for what it is, to not attach so much drama to it, to not fall on my face every time that I am challenged by these obstacles in my life, or that I have to get through these things, right? So I think for me that is really important. So the more you know yourself, the more you understand every single aspect of those things, and the more you allow yourself to experience and feel the emotions behind them, the easier it gets. And like I said, it's like riding a bike. The more I connect with my voice, the more I connect with my truth, the more I'm listening to my soul truth, the easier all of this gets. So if you can take some time now to really allow yourself to see yourself, allow yourself to sit and take some time today and make notes of the stuff that you're really scared of. If you've been wanting to launch a new business and you're just too afraid, why are you afraid? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid of failure? Who says you're going to fail? Who says that things will go wrong? Who says that people will be judging you? The only one who says that is you and your freaky ego, who keeps on standing on your shoulder going, oh my God, you can't do this. You're not good enough. But there's no empirical evidence. There's no proof to show that any of this stuff is going to go wrong for what you believe is going to go wrong, right? There's no actual evidence at all to show that things are going to go wrong for you and that you cannot do this. So what if you took a chance? What if you just stood up and said, fuck it, I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to try. I'm actually going to just put myself out there and share this, or give that, or put that out there, or step into this relationship, or open my heart a bit more and allow this person in. What if you did that? I always think, I see two kinds of people in the world. I see the people who sit on the couch and they're busy watching everything go by, and they have very opinionated about stuff, and they've got very strong ideas about things, but they never get up off the couch. Okay? And then I see the people, the quiet ones, who get up and do stuff. I see the people out there who are like going, I'm just going to do this, and I'm running towards this. So, and they are the people who have fun. They are the people who see the magic. They are the people who are not cynical and like judging and just moaning the whole time, right? They are the people who are actually going, oh, this is exciting. Let me try it. I'm shit scared, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so for me, I chose to be the person who runs towards everything. I chose to be the person who literally, I will jump off the building just to see what's going to happen, because I feel like it needs to be done. If my inner guidance is to do something, I will do it even if it fails miserably. And I've had a lot of failures in life, and I've learned so much through my failures. But it's also taught me that I have to keep trying. I have to keep getting up and going, I'm going to do this. I know I'm scared. It might go wrong, might not work, but I have to do this anyway. Because every now and again, there are these amazing moments of things working perfectly and everything working out exactly as I expected, or even better, actually. That's always the best part. So what if you today made a decision to be that adventurous, courageous person? And you don't have to run at everything immediately, but what if you just took one thing, one of those fears, and you ran towards it? What if you just took one of those fears and you saw what could happen if you allowed yourself to be in there and experience and feel and create? There's so much to be said for that. And the joy is in there. And I'm always, when I speak to people, they're always going, oh, Yolandi, but your life is so exciting and amazing. And I'm like, well, no, it's not really. It's just because I allow myself to go and look for things and experience things where other people will sit and look at me doing things. Well, why aren't you out there doing things as well? Why aren't you out there choosing beautiful new experiences in your life? Ask yourself that question, because that is where the real magic of being human lies for me. And that's why I'm really I'm very passionate about allowing myself to be scared and allowing myself just to be completely freaked out about doing stuff and then doing it anyway. So those moments of resistance, those moments of extreme resistance and then breaking through, those are gold. And I just want you to take some time and see in your life where you're sitting on the couch, where you are not playing with. Because this beautiful game, this experience that we call life, it's waiting for us to participate with both arms wide open. It's not just here for you to be a bystander, a person standing at the edge of the soccer field shouting and cheering everyone else on. How about if you were the one running there and like running after the ball and being absolutely, focused on reaching that goal? What if you were that person? And that's where the beauty lies. So I think if I could ask you to do something today, sit and look at your fears. Make a list. Make a list of everything. This is 2021. This is the year where you need to sort your shit out, right? You need to get going. You need to move into spaces, unknown spaces within yourself. You need to allow yourself to go there because it is glorious. So take some time, go and look at where your wounds are. Go and look at the stuff that you're really scared of doing, and then start doing your shadow work. Start doing your healing work. Start understanding where this stuff comes from, and start looking at what is the worst that could happen if I actually tried this, because I bet you it's not going to be so bad. So, and then send me a message and let me know what the hell you're creating, because I want to know all about it, and let me be witness to the awesomeness that is this life of yours. And so that's my message for today. Just be courageous and allow yourself to have fun through all of this, because this experience is really magical, and the more we realize that and the more we allow ourselves to feel into it, the better. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to connecting with you again when we move into G next time in a couple of weeks' time. So have a magical day, and I'm sending you lots of love and blessings. And please rate the podcast and share it with your friends, and just enjoy. Sending lots of love and lots of blessings.